In terms of the graduate, we passionately believe it's the most exciting and the most unique leadership program out there. Not only do you become a teacher, but we believe it has the leadership training that you need. If you can deal with 30 kids on a Friday afternoon, you can deal with any scenario, whether that's an investment bank, whether it's a charity, whether it's a professional services firm. It gives you skills that you just don't get if you join other graduate programs. It also gives complete flexibility. It's a 2-year program. You get to do an internship with one of our supporters in between years 1 and 2 if you're interested in trying out a position before you then apply for a graduate job. You get a coach in your 2nd year. We run mandatory elements of Imperial Business School's MBA course that you attend. We have many networking events, including our infamous Cock-Up Club, where we get famous individuals, whether that's from Jeremy Paxman's kind of done it, and whether it's from the media, whether it's from corporate world or government, and people come and tell you about their biggest mistakes and actually how they learnt from their mistakes. Because the reality is, most of our participants in Teach First have achieved so much in their careers, they've actually never failed. They've done well at GCSEs, they've done well at A-levels, they've done well at university, and day 1, lesson 1, they will fail. And what we're trying to encourage them to understand is you learn from failure. It's how you deal with failure that makes the leader. So it really, we believe, gives you the opportunity to keep your options open, but make a difference to a child's life for 2 years, learn things yourself, become more skilled, more experienced, more networked, and continue then, once you decide what you want to do, to address educational disadvantage, whether that be in the corporate world or not. So there's definitely synergy. Some of the skills that we hire are exactly the same, like leadership, planning and organising, creativity, interaction, you call it all lots of different things. Those are competencies which very much match a number of the top 100 graduate employers to Teach First. I would say that we have a few extra ones, which is the humility, respect and empathy, the resilience, and self-evaluation are 3 of our 8 competencies that I'd say are different from other graduate employers. But the reality is, and I talk to many colleagues in graduate recruitment, that nowadays those are the kind of skills that everybody needs, because it doesn't matter if you're client-facing, whether you're not client-facing, you need to be able to interact with other people, whether that's the chief executive, whether that's a colleague, whether that's someone that maybe works for you, maybe it's customers. It doesn't really matter. You look at any job, you will be interacting with others. And I think it's valuable life skills now for graduates is to really understand, if you are a sociable person, you've got skills, because you wouldn't be a sociable person if you didn't have those skills. And if you're not a sociable person and you do spend a lot of time on your own, or very solitary clubs and societies or activities, just either tailor kind of the sorts of roles that you go to that are that way inclined, or realise that you might need to kind of step out of that comfort zone and get some experience in interacting with others, because graduate recruitment isn't that complicated. It's not, we're not trying to trip people up, we're not trying to make you not get the job. We want every applicant that comes to us to get the position. The reason they don't is because they haven't got the skills, the softer skills that we're looking for. I probably shouldn't name names, but a number of our very big supporters now have factual evidence that Teach First participants are in the top 20% of their graduate intake. So we have a number of corporates that can actually say now a Teach First participant is streets ahead of a traditional graduate coming in, just because of the life experience and just because of the skills that they've learned from having taught for 2 years. It kind of makes sense. If you have been able to deal with those sorts of situations, and then you come into a graduate program where in effect they're teaching you the technical skills, because this again is one thing which I don't think all graduates necessarily understand. So many positions out there on the graduate arena, they bring you in to learn the technical. They don't necessarily concentrate on the competencies or the softer skills. Those come later. So in effect, like professional services, you would come in and get trained to be an accountant. They don't necessarily worry too much about all of those softer skills until you start to become client focused, until you start to manage, until you start to move your way up the career ladder. Do I think there's something missing? Yes, but do I think it's as serious and as fundamental as the press like to say? No. I honestly do think it's about playing the game, and it's also about graduates really looking at themselves in a way that they won't have done before, because we don't necessarily in our education system, certainly to A-levels and probably not to university, ask you to reflect a lot on what you're good at and what you're bad at. It's very much, learn these facts and figures, and then I'll test you on it later. Or give me your opinion, and then I'll ask you about it later. It's always about content rather than about the skills that you have as an individual. So for me, it's a lot more about understanding what you are good at and what you're not good at. And then the second part is what I said before, it's about playing the game. It's knowing how to play the game, where to look for the information, what to say when you're applying, how to present yourself, and certainly from a Teach First point of view in the sorts of schools that we work with, that's not a given that people understand that, or you even have an idea of, these are the sorts of clothes that you should wear, these are the sort of way that you should talk to people, these are the way that you should address individuals when you meet them, this is how you should hold yourself in an interview, this is how you should have the eye contact, all things which for some kind of are a given because of maybe the background that they've had, just aren't. And certainly, we have a wonderful agenda in the UK of trying to get more and more first-generation students into universities. Yeah. How do you know how to play that game if you haven't got a carer or a parent that can explain to you, how to play that game? So I think it's really, really important that we as an industry do more to try and educate our graduates just how to play the game and how to identify the skills that they're good at. And to also probably widen people's understandings of what sort of jobs are out there. Because the reality is, if you look at graduate recruitment, professional services firms have done an amazing job over the last 5 years and dominate the sector. Yeah. So those that have the biggest number of recruits, those that spend the most money on campus, that influence graduates to see them as careers of choice, they've done a phenomenal job. But the reality is, a local firm might be looking for a graduate and you'd be able to add real value versus a Teach First that can't afford to kind of do much marketing, I think has got amazing opportunities for raw talent. So it's not necessarily being too influenced by what you see, it's making sure you kind of really delve into, okay, well, what would I like to do, what's the sector, who plays in the sector, who are the big players, who are the small players, do I want to be in a big firm with lots of grads, do I want to be in a small firm with smaller amount of grads, do I want to be local, do I want to travel, do I want to be international? It's having all of those kind of questions to ask yourself to start to then hone down who you're going to apply to.